Good morning, Diane. I don't know. I can't hear you. Let me see.
Hi, Kelly. I know I was muted.
There you are. Okay.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Do you want to be on video so I can see you?
Yeah, I was trying to. Here it goes.
Hey. All right. Awesome. Good morning. I think Adam had registered too, so we'll maybe give it a second here and see if he pops on. But how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Awesome. What time is it there?
I'm in Maryland, so I'm on the East Coast. It's 9. It's not too early.
Good. Yeah, 7 here, but I'm a more of a morning person than an evening person. So.
No, I've been up for a while. We live on a farm, so I'm out doing animals and all that stuff already.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool. What kind of animals do you have?
We have horses. We have goats. There's like 30 goats, 35 goats, a couple hundred chickens. Plus, we have a kennel, a boarding kennel, so we board people's dogs. So I have all that going on. Plus, I'm trying to do my work. So that's part of my problem.
Yeah. Wow, that is a lot to do. Oh my goodness. Just taking care of all those little creatures is a lot.
Yeah.
But so how big is your farm?
It's not real big. There's like 26, 30 acres, something like that.
Cool. Awesome. Where at in Maryland are you?
On the Eastern Shore.
Okay. Are you
out in the middle of nowhere?
Are you close to like Ocean City and?
Yeah, that's south, a lot further south.
Further south. Okay.
Yeah.
I lived there for a few months in a past life, but and it's so pretty there. Here comes Adam. So.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. Cornfields and soybean fields.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I grew up in. So I'm like, that's pretty to me.
Yeah. It's nice. There's a lot of water around too. The bay and the ocean's not too far.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember going out to Assateague Island.
Oh, I love it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of like the wild horses that were out
there.
So neat. Good morning, Adam. Welcome.
I can't hear him. He's muted.
Unmute yourself.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey. Good morning.
How's everybody?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good.
I was just learning about Diane's farm and all of her animals that she takes care of. She's already been up feeding everybody. I'm like, wow. And Adam, remind me again, where are you now? Are you in Tennessee or?
Boston.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Long way from Tennessee.
I actually grew up not too far from where you are right now. I grew up in Wyoming. But,
okay.
Yeah, but I live out here now.
Well, how did you end up in Boston? From Wyoming?
My wife is a scientist, so she got a job with the Harvard Smithsonian out here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah, you married braves.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But Denver's really nice right now too, though. It's good for the art scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the Monet exhibit coming. I really want to come out and see that.
Yeah, that is coming. And we had, they did have a show that's now in Williamstown, Mass, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
I don't know that you, at the Clark, I don't know that you would be interested in going, but it was about women artists in Paris.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
It was really, really inspiring. It was very neat. So
yeah,
I already kind of knew a lot about that history and have a strong affinity for those female artists like Cecilia Poe and others who, they just fought to be like in the same classes at the École with the men.
Yeah, at the salon and yeah.
So anyway, so it was really neat to go to that show. I think I went like 3 or 4 times while I was here in Denver.
That's cool.
Yeah, the first time I went, I was just like, whoa, because I don't know, it was really, really interesting how they put all of that together and everything that they told about their stories and their struggles. And, one woman, she was a really great artist. I was like, I would give my right arm to, no, just kidding, not my right arm. I always say that. It's such a bad thing to say.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I know, I'm right-handed too. I'm
yeah. You can't paint with your left hand.
So, but she had, she made these gorgeous paintings, and there was this gorgeous self-portrait that she did. And in her story, it said, she had to get married in order to be taken care of. And then her husband was like, nope, you're not doing this painting thing. So she didn't paint anymore.
Oh, no.
I know. It's just like, oh, dreadful.
Yeah.
And then another woman, she had the opposite experience. Her husband was like her biggest champion, was kind of her PR person, So,
Oh, wow.
so it was just really interesting seeing all of those female artists and all their different stories. And anyways, they're kind of my anchor. I actually have their photos up in my studio to be like, okay, girl, do your thing, work your ass off, because these ladies have it a hell of a lot harder. We have so many, still hard today for artists, but we have so many opportunities now as well. So anyways, that's off on a tangent. But so you're in Boston?
Yeah, and the weather's been really nice. Like, it's been in the 70s here, which is, and for August in Boston, it's really nice. Yeah, so it's
I love Boston, and you've got amazing museums up there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Have you ever been, Diane?
To Boston?
Yeah.
Years ago, but I barely remember being there. It's been a long time ago.
Where are you at?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh, okay. Not too far.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so
I was out in Denver a couple of years ago. I went out there rock climbing.
oh, really?
Nice.
Oh my goodness. You're an adventurer.
Yeah.
You could
I
not
like to do
get
that kind
me
of stuff.
doing that. No way. Like, talk about scaring the shit out of me. That would definitely.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. If I lived out there, I'd do more of it. But
It is beautiful. It's beautiful.
yeah, it's really pretty.
There's a giant rock in Wyoming called Vidavoo, and it's a really beautiful rock. I painted it a couple times, and a lot of people go rock climbing on that.
Wow.
So if you're ever up there, like that would be a good place. It's
Now,
really,
I would paint it.
yeah.
I'll paint Diane climbing. Amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. Who wants to go first? Does anybody have any questions, any particular struggles, or anything you think I might be able to help you with?
You want to go first, Diane?
Get out.
Okay. My biggest problem is trying to build a list.
Okay.
I don't have much of a list, and a lot of my followers are other artists. So I'm trying to switch it around to be more, collector type people. And the few people that I do have on there, they say they'll buy a poster or a print, but they won't buy a painting. They don't have the money, the funds or whatever to invest in paintings. So I don't really have the correct audience and like my ideal collector on my list at all. So I'm trying to figure out how to build that. If you have any suggestions.
And then Diane.
Are you recording this, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
And Diane, what are your well, how do I say this? But what are your sources? Like, what are you using to promote? Are you using mostly online platforms? Are you doing in person events?
Online. I don't have much time, or I'm in a rural area, so there's not really much here to draw from as far as the local community. So that's kind of why I took Alexis's course, so I could do stuff online, because that seems to be the only opportunity I have. I mean, I'm like an hour and a half from Baltimore, and maybe about an hour and a half from Philadelphia, and it's probably a couple hours down to Washington, but I don't have much time to get there, like to do, to go to the gallery openings and things. I don't have time to do that. So I'm really limited as far as local stuff.
Mm-hmm. Because of your other business?
Yeah, that, and yeah, mainly that. I just
Are you
don't.
working a job too?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So.
Okay, girl.
Yeah, I have a lot going on.
You have zero time. No. So are you mostly doing Facebook or Instagram? What are you
Yeah, I do both of those. I've kind of stopped right at the moment since I started Looks as a class because I wanted to regroup and kind of figure out, because I was getting, likes and stuff, but I wasn't really getting the kind of engagement that I wanted. So I just kind of put that on hold for the moment so I could focus on her class. So I want to get back into doing that again now that the class is over, and, try to restart it and just go from there.
Okay. And then, yeah, you definitely want to restart it, because if you are in the building, I think Alexis calls it the building phase. I can't quite remember. So I was in the emerging phase where I had a pretty decent following online already, and I had about 350 people on my email list. And I had no idea if any of those people were buyers or not, of course, at the time, because I was never selling to them. But anyways, so there's going to be a difference in what you have to do, basically. And I think Alexis says if you are in that building phase, like 80% of your time needs to go towards marketing, towards trying to build that list. So that is almost a daily effort, or I would say at least like every other day. Posting your work, I would say at least try to do one video a week if you can get comfortable with that. And it can just be like a video of maybe you're varnishing a painting, or you're zooming in on a painting and talking about how you created it, or, you don't necessarily have to be on camera, but
yeah, I've done some of the videos while I'm working painting. So I posted some of them on Instagram and Facebook, I think, too. But, and they get a lot of, traction, but I'm not getting the right people. So I'm not using the right tags, I guess. I've been trying to try different things, but.
Well, and what I would say too is, hopefully I'm kind of scatterbrained in how I talk about stuff. So let me see if I can get my, okay. So on your post, you want to post regularly, of course. I would say, you want to, do basically a couple of education posts a week, and that doesn't necessarily mean like teaching technique. That means educating your audience about your art, and educating them about why you're creating what you're creating, talking about anything that's relevant to the piece of art that you made, anything like that. So you want to keep in mind that people are selfish, and they want to know what's in it for me. Why am I paying attention to your post? So if you're painting, what are you painting, Diane?
Mostly landscapes.
Landscapes?
Yeah, and they're fairly real, not realistic, but impressionist realism, I guess.
Like plein air or local?
Yeah, I've done plein air too.
Okay. Are they mostly like local scenes or things like that?
Mostly, yeah.
So those are things that I would really kind of start to talk about in my posts, is the scene that you painted, using hashtags for your region, for the local area, why that scene. I'm just trying to brainstorm ideas of things that you could talk about if you're not already doing that. Why that scene is relevant to you, what you loved about it, what it means to you, things like that. Because that way you can start to create an emotional connection and a bond with people who are seeing your painting. So why why would people want to look at your painting or converse with you about your paintings over somebody else, you know?
Yeah, that's something I haven't been doing. I write write it in the description when I post it on my website, but I really should take that same paragraph or whatever about it and post it on social media too. I hadn't thought about doing that. Okay.
Yeah, so just kind of take that and post it. And it's good if you can think of ways to get them to interact instead of just,
Yeah, ask questions and stuff.
yeah, instead of just like tire kicking, you know, like just a one-sided conversation. A lot of people won't engage in that, but you'll be surprised how many people will. So if you can just come up with a simple question like, you know, I'm trying to think of what you could ask, but you know, what's your favorite spot in this area, or, you know, try to come up with some question to get them to interact in relationship to you as an artist and your painting. And so even though I know you don't have time to go to a lot of stuff, if you're painting local scenes, I would also, you know, start thinking about tagging those areas, or tagging like Maryland artists, things like that, because people do like to buy landscapes of their area. They do like to support local artists, you know, so I would definitely start trying to pull in regional and local collectors online who may be interested in your work. And then what I try to do is on every single post, well, I shouldn't say every single post, but on enough posts, I try to make sure that my sign up link for my email list is in that description. So,
Yeah, okay.
you know, join my artistic community for, you know, more insights and special offers or whatever. And of course, you can create like a free print, you know, something that if you're targeting more collectors rather than students. And don't get me wrong, collectors want to see the process too. They're actually really interested.
I mean, teaching is an option too, probably, but I, you know, I don't know if I have the time to do that right now. But I do need to get some income coming in, so that's probably a possibility. Okay. I mean,
yeah. So I would say creating something as well as an incentive for them to get on your list, you know, and then having that link in the description. If there are any groups that you can share into, and I would say don't underestimate artists as well. Don't be too concerned if it's, you know, at first you're getting a bunch of artists, because a lot of the people who buy my work are artists and they're students, or, you know, they're hobby artists. You know, they love art. They're trying to make their own art, but they're also collectors. You know, they're both. So I wouldn't I wouldn't worry too much about that. But you can also start using tags and finding groups that would perhaps would be better to target art collectors. So hashtag Maryland art collectors, or hashtag art gallery, Maryland art gallery, Maryland artists, you know, or your local area as well. So definitely start experimenting with things like that as far as different hashtags to bring more people in. And of course on Instagram, you can, you know, use a ton of hashtags, you know, well, like 28 or 30.
Yeah, I think it's like 30,
yeah.
Yeah. And so what I would recommend too, since you're so busy, would be to, if you have a day where you're not so busy, would be to get in there and schedule all of your posts on Facebook. I haven't seen it work very well whenever I post to Instagram and then share to my Facebook page.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah, it's like, even though Facebook bought Instagram, and I'm not like an algorithm expert or any of that, but I've just seen that the engagement has not been as good whenever I share on there. So I usually post to Facebook first, and then I'll copy and paste the description from there and go over to Instagram and post my photo and do it organically that way.
Well, I've noticed I've gotten more and more conversation stuff when I post on my personal page as opposed to my business page for whatever reason, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Will, and
I know.
just be careful not to sell too much on your personal page because you can get turned in. Like I used to never be worried about that, and you probably don't need to worry about it right now. But now that I have a bigger following and I'm selling more
Mm-hmm.
online, I am pretty careful to make sure that I don't sell too much on my personal page because they can and will shut you down, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they can like totally shut your personal. If somebody turns you in or if they start seeing it too much, they'll start, they'll perhaps shut you down. I've actually known of people, actually Sue Bryce,
Yeah.
a photographer, professional photographer. She said one morning she woke up and like her whole page, she couldn't log in, her whole page was gone. And so I think too, like the bigger you get, maybe you have to be a little more careful. But, sharing from your art page, your personal page, and you can definitely, I don't see anything wrong with like putting your sign up link and talking about your art, but just be careful, like putting prices
Mm-hmm.
on the work on your personal page or actually asking for the sale on your personal page too much.
Yeah, well, I usually post on my business and then I share it to my personal. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah,
yeah.
coming from your business page. But in order to get people on your list, you really, have to start marketing a lot, promoting as much as you can, and of course it doesn't take a lot of time, you just have to sit down and like do it. You could even do like a whole month's worth of postings in one day if you have the wherewithal to do it.
I have done that. I've used a couple different I've tried a couple different scheduling systems, even for the Instagram. I've done it that way, but I don't like it as much because like when you do it so far ahead, it's like old before the stuff finally comes out, and it seems like it's not relevant anymore. Maybe, I don't know. It's just
well, that's you though, so it's not relevant to you anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But I agree. Like I'm a little more spontaneous. So what I do is I do schedule some automatically throughout the whole month, just to make sure that I have consistent posting.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be one post a week that gets automatically scheduled on maybe like a slow day or something, maybe like a Monday or something, or Saturday. And then I'll either, now for me, it's different because I have more time, like this is all I do.
Yeah.
So, but if you're working and you've got all this stuff going on, I would say if there's a day where you do have some downtime or an evening, I mean, it really would maybe take an hour, at the most, to sit down and schedule 2 more posts for that week,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Alexis has talked to y'all at all about better times, but what I found is usually, Wednesday is usually a great day, and usually morning hours. So, but you can look at your current insights on your Facebook page and kind of see if that stands to be correct for you too.
Yeah, it's usually the middle of the week, and then like from about 9 to maybe about 2 or 3.
Yeah,
is usually the peak time.
Yeah. So you want to kind of get those posted on peak times, and usually.
Oh, we just lost your voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I went quiet for a second.
Peak time is all, then went dark.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
So definitely posted on high engagement times, and make sure you watch that. Make sure you're on there after it posts, and just make sure that you can check and respond to any comments, because the more engagement that you can get, the more that Facebook is going to, you know, kind of make it show up more in people's news feed.
Right.
And then, of course, with Facebook Lives, you have to do that live. So you would have to.
Right. You have to do that.
Are you on any other platforms besides Facebook and Instagram?
No.
Do you use Pinterest or?
I don't. I do have a Pinterest account. I have not put a lot of time and effort there. But
I've heard Pinterest and LinkedIn is like been hot lately. So I was wondering if you'd heard anything about that.
Yeah.
Or do any of that.
I have, of course, heard things like that. Do you know do you have any idea what your demographic is that you're currently attracting or have sold to? You know, your ideal client as far as your age group?
Who follows me on Instagram, I guess it's the easiest way. It's mostly women. It's almost 50-50, but it's a little bit more higher on women. And they range in age from about 35 to 65.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't really.
Has anybody bought? Has anybody
No.
work?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So you're starting from scratchola. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I would. You know, I'm not quite 100% sure what to say to you here. You might check with Alexis on what her opinion is about this, because you don't really have anything to really build on necessarily as far as who will actually buy your work.
Yeah. Well, I talked to her the other day about it a little bit because I was talking about doing a webinar to build my list. And she said she suggested that I do more landing pages, just like trying to get people on my list and offer different things to see who bites for what, so I can get a better idea maybe who my audience would be.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try that, I guess, when I get a chance.
How would that look? How would that look?
Just like offering different things on the landing page, like for my welcome series, I did a PDF for like teaching people how to I forget what exactly I put. It was a guide to purchasing original art. And she said, well, you might want to try another one since I do a lot of landscapes, maybe something to do with the environment, or, you know, like write a PDF for the environment or something that would kind of lead into my why. Just tried like different avenues to see where people would be coming from.
Right.
Which one works the best. So that would give me a better indication of where maybe my audience is.
Yeah, because you're starting out from such scratch, you know, fresh start and just building. That it's going to take some experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
But I get a little concerned about trying to pull yourself in too many directions, too many different platforms.
That's why I've just stuck with Facebook and Instagram for the moment. But I was just wondering, because I've heard a lot of buzz about LinkedIn and Pinterest lately.
I don't know very much about LinkedIn. Pinterest, I know the demographic there is typically younger, like maybe my age or younger. Which,
so that's probably not my audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it couldn't be, but you know, if typical women my age who may be mamas, like my sister, they're not usually buying a whole lot of stuff like that. You know, they're taking care of their kids, and they come last, and they themselves come last, and splurging on fine art is, I don't know. I don't want to. Anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
That's part of why I haven't pushed too much into Pinterest, and plus even me, like I pretty much only have time for Facebook and Instagram right now, and really trying to build on that. And most of the and especially with Facebook, most of the older audience who they have now, they're retired or they're close to retirement. They're not mamas anymore. You know, they have extra money to spend normally. Unless you're dealing with like a younger woman like me, who's a professional woman who is in charge of her own money and who doesn't have kids, you know, then perhaps there's an opening there for a luxury product for that age group, I think. But anyway, so I just get a little concerned with your time constraints as far as stretching yourself too thin in too many different directions.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn, however, might be good for finding local people, you know, who could, as far as connectors, people who could, interior designers or people like that who maybe could help you find collectors in your local area. But I don't have a lot of expertise there to share, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that may be something that you consider. Yeah, and I would think, like, you know, the fact that you have a farm and all of your animals, and I don't know if you've pulled a lot of that stuff in as well into your promoting. And
Yeah, I've used like pictures because I paint outside a lot, and I'm out there with the animals, and I have like photos of me out there with the goats, you know, all around me when I'm painting and stuff, you know, things like that. But
and I'm kind of like, that's something that is interesting about you.
mm-hmm.
Like, as soon as you told me about that, I was like, oh, that's so cool, you know. And I could see you attracting an audience who is also like that, you know, who run farms, or they, you know, they'd love to have big, beautiful paintings of, you know, their landscape around them in their home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, plus it kind of helps like set you apart a bit and gives us a bit of insight into who you are and your personality, you know, as well, which is important nowadays, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even just getting pictures of maybe the animals like around your easel, like if you step back, like chickens or something, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun.
Yeah. Artist assistants. You know?
Yeah, I had my daughter take some pictures of me, and I was out there painting, and the goats were all around me, and they were like trying to steal my brushes and stuff. So it's
Right.
like
That'd be a great video.
it was an interesting painting. It took me a while.
Right.
Fighting off the goats. But
Yeah, so I would say, Diane, for you, you know, you're going to have to realize that it's going to take some time to build that audience, and it's going to take consistent, relentless, you know, promoting, self-promotion online to build that audience. Before I met Alexis, I had been posting regularly on social media since 2013 was when I first started, and I met her, found her in 2017, 2017, I don't remember. Anyways, so you can just see there's a gap of what, 4 years of regular posting, and I was just doing it because we had moved to Oklahoma, and I had heard about this Facebook. I kind of knew about Facebook, but barely knew about it. And I was like, I've got to try to start figuring out how to sell some paintings, because all my galleries weren't selling that I was in. And so I thought, well, let's try this Facebook thing, you know.
yeah.
That's where I started, and I just started posting. And at the time, I was just posting just to post, you know, and I was sharing into art groups, you know, like in plein air, landscape painting, outdoor painters, you know, these kinds of things. Then I started trying to figure out, how can I sell some paintings outside of the galleries that could bring in some money. So I started selling a lot of my smaller works, you know, my sketches and stuff, you know. So I was using Daily Paintworks to sell through at the time, and then sharing into like the plein air groups and things like that. And therefore, that really helped me there for a while, even though I had no clue what I was doing, you know. And then I would do like series, the sunrise series really took off. I did 30 sunrises in 30 days. So that might be something too that you think about is coming up with a challenge or
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah,
like
I did a 30, when I first got on Instagram, I did a 30-day challenge thing.
Yeah.
That was tough. It was tough painting that much every day. But
So yeah, and for you that may be because of how much you're working, that may be difficult to pull off. But
yeah.
and so that things like that people could follow regularly does help to really boost your following kind of quicker if you can come up with something like that, like, hey, I'm working on this series, or it's a daily thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the farm is it's kind of seasonal. Like right now, it's the busiest time of year. It was like the worst time to take the Alexis's course because I was like, oh my God. And then my computer died on me, so I had like all this other crap happening. But anyway, so in the wintertime, I can kind of, I have a little more, my time's a little more my own, like, because we don't have fields to mow and, outside stuff to do so much. So I have a lot more time, once the fall gets here and the winter.
Yeah, once the harvest is done.
Yeah. So that'll ease up. So
yeah,
that's when I kind of have to focus all that stuff and try to get everything done in the wintertime.
Yeah.
But that's coming up, so that's why I'm trying to get all these things in line, like to get started on it when all that breaks.
But I would definitely start marketing now. Try to at least, I would set a goal of what you can do. 3 posts a week, 2 posts a week, at least 1 a week. I would recommend doing more, but set a goal and get it done, because you have to start thinking and start trying to act like the CEO, I guess, if you want to call it that you want to be eventually. So you have to, just like your farm, you've got to start plugging those seeds. You've got to water that. It's got to be consistent. Like you can't just go, okay, I'm going to water this week, but I'm not going to water next week,
Right.
So it's got to be consistent, and you've got to find a way to make that simpler and easier on yourself. Again, if that's just sitting down 1 day a week and scheduling those posts, or having those hashtags pre-written, different sets of hashtags pre-written out in your notes that you can copy and paste, perhaps, into that Facebook post, or, anything like that can help.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind, like, your audience is not you. They do not know what you are or are not doing. They only see what you are promoting to them. So you can post older works, if you've been too busy to paint, lately with the harvest and all that kind of stuff, you can show older works. You can, definitely recycle content. If you have had posts that have been successful, you definitely want to kind of see, like, why was that successful, and kind of revamp or kind of redesign it or reword it or something, and keep using those things that are working and that are successful, and make sure you get them on your list.
Yeah, I have to focus more on that. I was trying to get people to my website, but I think I need to switch it to getting them on my list first and then to the website.
I would. That's, I'm like, well, they might go to my website, and because I'm on FASO, there's only one sign up link, and it's at the very bottom of the page. And it's
I'm on there too.
It's like they could do 100 things and leave the website and never sign up. They could just peruse my art, for half an hour, and then
you can actually, on FASO, you can actually add in the code for like your website, your sign up link. You can put it anywhere. You can put it on your homepage.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I just left there. I'm in Squarespace now, but before I had FASO.
Good.
Yeah. And,
Squarespace will be a lot better, and it's
I can post a lot more images.
Yeah. And you can sell easier. You have different options.
Yeah. I have coupon codes, and it seems a lot more versatile.
Yeah.
So far.
We'll be switching, I think, to WooCommerce. Right now we're building the education website first, and then we'll be switching mine to WooCommerce, because running these private sales through FASO has been super time consuming, and it's like you can't do a discount code like what you're saying.
Yeah, I had a different website before, and I moved. I was in Well Painters, and they had the $30 trial thing for FASO, so I switched over to FASO to try it, and it's only been the last year or so. But I'm gonna get off of it when the year's up. Yeah, go back to the other one.
So Diane, I would say, you've got to, for you just starting out, you've got to spend most of your time promoting yourself, promoting your work, and getting them on your list to build that list.
Mm-hmm.
Experimenting with different ways to do that, like Alexis is recommending, and just showing the world who you are, your art, your beautiful self, and and getting them on there. But it takes consistency, and I would say quantity over quality, in my opinion. It's like just I don't know how you are about posting, but I know I have friends who just agonize over a post, for hours. They're like, oh, that doesn't sound good, or I'm like, just get it done, like, because honestly, it all goes
people don't remember what you post anyway.
Now if you do end up with a really good post, they will remember it, and that's where, again, it's like where you're at. I think a lot of experimentation, trying different questions, trying different ways to get people to engage, trying different ways to get them to sign up on your list, sharing into groups, sharing those posts into groups that might be interested. You can get into those groups if they're not art groups, and if they're like community groups or something like that, you can try to see if it's okay for you to post your artwork in there. If the group is in line with what you create, to start to stir some interest. But I think for you, most of your time has to be put there. But I would also say try to sell, even while you're building, try to sell. So I would probably plan to run one sell a month at least, using the 4-part email sales series. And even try to sell, regularly on your Facebook. Put the price on your paintings. It's simple,
I had been doing that, but I think I was doing I was just doing like what most people do, is post their painting with the price, and I wasn't really doing a lot of the other stuff. So I need to do more of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what most artists do. That's what that's what I did when I first posted.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I was like, in the beginning, if I was kind of excited about a painting, I might post a little sentence like, oh, I'm so excited about this painting. That might be it. And that was the interesting thing about doing this, when I did the Sunrise series, and that all happened kind of accidentally, but I was, talking about, why I was doing the Sunrise series, that I was really struggling. I was struggling financially. That was depressing, So I was, then that was causing me not to paint because I was depressed that no paintings were selling.
So were you talking about that on the net? I mean, whatever, on Daily Paintworks?
On Facebook. And,
on Facebook, okay.
And I was posting them through Daily Paintworks, and I did more than 30 days because it took about a week for momentum to build, and attention to start happening. But I talked about that. And then at the time I was like really into Rumi, and I'm not like a big poetry person, but at the time I was really into Rumi, and it just seemed fitting. And so I would put like a Rumi quote on there. And, I think it was the Sunrise. It was the fact that it was the same time every day, but I also think it was the emotional content. And it's not like I was bawling my eyes out,
Yeah.
But I think talking about it, being open and honest about it. And I didn't talk a whole lot about the financial piece. I just was saying, I've been down, I've been stressed, being an artist is difficult, and so I was being open and vulnerable in that regard, not on every single post, but, and then of course I always had the link for the Daily Paintworks auction. And people started buying them, and then they started like kind of racing to buy them because I would have like a buy it now. And so they're like, I want to get one of those, and they would kind of start like, oh, I got there first, I got it, stuff like that. And that did lead to more things. Somebody basically reported me to the local news station, that sounds bad. But so things like that, I'm like, wow, well, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I think of to turn myself into the local news station, about this project I was doing? But at the time I was like, no, you don't do that. You don't be your own PR, all that kind of limited thinking there. But anyway, so it's just one example of how you can create something that does generate a lot of interest, but you do have to stick with it. And because that repetition, was also key. And the fact that I was going to do it for a certain amount of time. I remember one morning I didn't get my painting posted, and it was like 8:30 or 9 a.m. and people were like, where's your painting? So, and then I ended up making like a little booklet, of the 30 paintings, and people bought those, and of course I sold them really cheap. And I have a whole envelope of like cards that people sent me. I mean, it was really
that's cool.
an inspiring thing.
Yeah.
So it's created a lot of connection, So and that's kind of what I'm saying too, like, and sometimes it's hard to come up with those things and manufacture it, but it was a good lesson in the fact that people really want to feel good, and they really also want to be a part of your journey, and they want to know who you are, and they also want you to kind of inspire them, and have some sort of emotional connection. I think that that's something that's really a strong piece that a lot of artists don't understand, is that the collectors, want to have some kind of connection with you. I know I've definitely seen that. Now, not all collectors. There's some collectors that are only going to buy from the galleries or only buy from the museum shows because they want the status of, oh, I buy art from that show, So there's different kinds of collectors. But as far as social media, I think things like that go a long way, that emotional connection.
That actually leads to one of my questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was thinking about doing a Kickstarter for like an artist residency, like up in Acadia National Park.
Okay.
Right, and then like, saying like, oh, for $25, you can help. You can, you'll get one of my sketches from the journey, or for $100 you get one of the paintings that I do. And just building that sort of. I was wondering if you had any like tips for making that better.
I actually did a Kickstarter. I think it was about a year after I did the Sunrise series, and it was called Chasing Light, and it was just like a plein air series. I just wanted to do. I wanted to paint the same scene 6 times a day, kind of like Monet, like in all different lights.
Yeah.
So I did the different levels. So the smallest level was like maybe $20. And with that, they got like a set of note cards that I just made on Vistaprint. So I would say for $20, $10 to $20, I would definitely not give away an original, even a sketch, for that price. But so that worked pretty well too. It was a bit more work for me than doing the Sunrise series, because then the Sunrise series led to a show at my gallery as well, and I was able to create some bigger pieces because of the news article. And then the gallery was like, oh, we want to do a show about this, you know? It's like, well, all of a sudden they noticed people were buying these paintings and getting excited about it. So then that led to a show, which led to about $7,000 worth of sales. So that experience was more financially successful for me. And then I did the Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter worked, and I think I raised about $3,000. And so that definitely worked. It was just a little bit more work, and then I had to ship more things out than just.
Yeah.
So what I did was the different tiers. The smallest tier, they got, excuse me, note cards. The next tier, I think, was like an art book. Instead of note cards, it was like a book that I made on Blurb, and I wouldn't recommend Blurb because their shipping is so high.
Oh, okay.
So you might use Shutterfly or somebody like that where they're doing half off and free shipping, you know, to get the best deal.
Yeah.
Shutterfly perhaps. But so the next tier was for a book, and I think that was maybe $50. And then the next tier was like probably $100. And that was for a sketch, for one of the sketches. But
Okay.
all I was doing was sketches. So the $200 one was like my top tier, and I think they got everything. They got the book,
Oh,
it
yeah.
may have even been more than $200. I can't remember, but I was also underpricing and undervaluing myself back then as well. This is pre Alexis, so so the highest tier got an original sketch and got the book and the note cards. So, you know, you could come up with something, you know, a variation on that. But
Yeah.
I don't know, you might even have something like they get first dibs on the actual paintings that you create.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a
From
good.
that. And perhaps they get first dibs, and perhaps they get a discount for a limited time before you
Yeah.
offer it to the public.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. And then what is it that they're helping you do? You know, you have to kind of, with Kickstarter, I think they need to get something, and they also, I think Kickstarter, you know, again, I'm not like a Kickstarter expert, so you may want to do more research on this, but in my experience, they also want to be a part of the process.
Right.
And they want to feel like they're helping you in some way. So you kind of need to let them know, like, because it's a donor, kind of a donor thing, I guess. So you kind of need to let them know, like, what is it that they are, like, they're really helping you, you know, to fund this, and why do you need their help, you know, so that they can feel good about giving to you, even though they're getting something in return. You can also feel really good about it. So you have to kind of, again, consider the emotional content there. And, you know, also, why are you doing it? There's probably a lot of emotional content around why you're doing it. Why do you want to paint Arcadia? You know, what's the point? And you've probably thought about a lot of this already, but just really hitting on those points, like the importance of the legacy of painting our national parks, and perhaps the importance of that, you know, for contemporary artists painting our national parks now. You know, so there may be some juicy stuff there that you can definitely pull out.
What about like, okay, let me just give you these questions. Like how you work a lot, so how do you manage your time off? Like when you have, do you completely separate yourself from art, or how do you do that? Because I work 3 days a week at a job, and then the rest of the time, even on Saturday and Sunday, I'm doing something, and it's hard for me to like pull away from the art and everything, and like just to give myself a break.
Yeah. So you're working 3 days a week? Is that what you said?
I'm working at my other job 2 days a week, and then I'm working in the studio 5 days.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's busy, but it's good.
You know, for my everybody's different, but for my own mental well-being, I always take Sundays off.
Okay.
regardless.
Okay.
And actually, and that's also for the well-being of my relationship.
Yeah, my wife's been a little like, we should go do something. I'm like, well, I have to do this. So,
But you don't. You know, I understand. And around that time that I was doing the Sunrise series and I was really stressed out about money
yeah.
and all of that, I was working this, and sometimes it wasn't even good working because I was burning out and I was just like, online, like, I gotta find some way to make money, you know. And so it wasn't even necessarily good working all the time. And I was doing that where I was like 7 days a week, even Sundays, you know. I just felt like, oh my God, I felt so stressed and desperate, you know, in a way. And it's not a good feeling and it's not good for your relationship. And so my boyfriend, you know, at the time was like, you can't keep doing this, you know, like you're not happy, you're frustrated, you know, so you do need that break. So he kind of, not that he forced me into it, but I was like, yeah, he's right, you know, and we need some downtime together.
Yeah.
And he understands because, you know, he was an artist as well and wanted to be a full-time artist. So he knows, like, it's not like he was saying, oh my God, you're never spending time with me, or, you know, it's not like he was putting any demands, but anyway, so there was a concern there for my health, both physical and emotional, and as well as our relationship health. So pretty much ever since 2013, we always take Sundays off together. Now, like right now, we're working on building the website. So for the last couple of weeks, we've kind of done like half a day on Sunday and then maybe a little bit of work, you know, but not a lot. So that, I think taking that day off has kind of saved my life in a lot of ways, because I come from a family that's like very, very hardworking, labor oriented. The harder you work, the more results you're going to get. And what I've learned is that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can work smarter, you know, and not harder. And I think for artists, it's really important that you have some time to just process. You know, a lot of us are intuitive people, you know, and we need that time, that downtime to just kind of recover and process and feed our inspiration, you know. Going out, you know, it's different for everybody, but going out for a hike or getting like nature for me is really helpful. Even if that's just going to like the botanic gardens and like looking at flowers. And it feels like I'm not accomplishing anything, but you really are. I've had to learn, like, I really am accomplishing something by doing this, because then I come back and I'm like, so, you know, just refueled, rejuvenated, ready to, you know, start again.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. What about like bad comments?
Bad
Like
comments.
on your Facebook? Yeah, like
They're out of there.
I have an old teacher, and she puts things on there like I'm still a little student, and I love them, but I have to delete them because it doesn't help my business. It doesn't help my brand.
Oh, yes, and you're exactly right. You're exactly right, Adam.
Yeah.
So you have to, you could either let them know, like, look, if you want to message me that privately, you can. I wouldn't even welcome that, but it's hard whenever people, like my mom would leave stuff.
Right.
Like I remember one time several times I've had figurative painting, and my mom and my grandma, I don't know what it is, like their base level thinking, I don't know. They just don't understand nude figurative art. And so pretty much every time I would post like a nude figurative study, my grandma would be like, oh boy, she's got some ugly boobies. You know?
That's not, yeah, you don't need that. No.
or my mom would, and I'm like, this is a real person. This model is a real person. And you're like, first of all, you're kind of making me look bad, you know, saying I painted terribly, which I probably did, but still, you know, it's like, yeah, I probably did paint her boobs weird.
Right. Oh my God.
So, but yeah, keep them. Even my mom, you know, and I thought, and I never messaged them. I never said, hey, you know, that's not good for my business, nothing. I just deleted them. Because a lot of times they don't come back and check to see if you've responded. And my mom is very antagonistic, which sounds awful, but she really is. And like, she knows how to get underneath my skin, you know? And so it's unfortunate, but it's just better if I don't react in any way.
Yeah.
Like one of my Facebook ads recently, she like messaged me and was like telling me what was wrong with this landing page and that people are going to think that you're trying to rip them off, blah, 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 blah. And she maybe had a good point, because some people did think that just because I was giving away free videos, but I also had the pricing information in for, you know, if they were to sign up for Vital Art Sessions, how much it costs. And, you know, listen, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to do this stuff. But so my mom was like, you know, going to town on me about this. I said, look, it's too late. Like, that is done. That landing page is done. So, and if people are really being nasty, I just delete and block them.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody who is personal in your life, who,
and she has good intentions and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, it's okay.
But you can't, you just can't have any criticism like that on your work.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. That aligns pretty much with what I was thinking. That's good to.
Yeah. So they're gone. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Felicia. That's your business, you know, and you have to be in control of how you're perceived.
Right. So I have another question about teaching. Last year I taught like the Newton Watercolor Society, and it went really well for like a figure painting drawing for a whole the winter semester. And then the last class, it went terribly. It just didn't go well. Like the energy was bad, and so this whole spring and summer, I've been having this anxiety about it. And I got asked back to do it, and it's pretty good money, so I'm going to do it. But do you have any advice for getting back on the horse and like doing you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting back in there and like.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That really, that's hard.
Has that ever happened to you?
I've had my fair share of like not great workshops and stuff.
Okay.
You know, it just sucks.
All right.
I've had experiences too. Like my very first class, one of the women who took it, it was like she was not at all interested in learning from me. I don't know why she was there. And then she like separated herself from the group. She didn't want to watch the demos. She didn't want critiques. And she didn't want to oil paint. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then one time she came into class and she's like, can I bring my own stuff? And I'm illustrating a children's book and yada, yada, yada. You know, and then like the first day she actually went along with everything, and then she informed me that she's like, oh, I can paint this with my eyes closed. Let's see it.
Yeah.
You should have told her to go ahead and teach the class for you.
So, you know, it was one of those, and this was my very first class, and I was so nervous about doing it. I only had 4 people. Nobody knew. I didn't know if I was going to be a good teacher. Nobody knew if I was going to be a good teacher. And so then I had this woman in there. So really I had 3 students, you know, because I was like, wow, okay, this lady's got some major ego. And so then like the next day she said, well, can I bring in my own stuff? I was like, sure, whatever. I'm already done, you know?
Yeah.
And so then she came in late, and she was hauling all of her own stuff in the middle of my demo.
Making noise.
Setting her stuff up, distracting. I just, you know, I hated to treat her like she was 5 years old, but that's how she was acting. So I just pulled her out in the hall afterwards and said, you can't do that. This is my class. It's my demonstration. And if you cannot show up late, you're going to have to wait outside until I'm done lecturing and demonstrating, before you can come in and set up, you know. And I just like, that was my first experience, and I thought, if I don't stick up for myself now, then I'm never going to. So I just went and I told the person who was in charge, you know, everything that went on. I said, look, this is what's happened. I highly doubt she'll keep coming back because she's not getting to do, it was like a 10 class, and this was like class three that this happened. And I said, so she may ask you for your money back. I'm just letting you know what went down, you know. So stuff like that is just like awful. And I mean, I've had of students, and yeah, it can get pretty rough sometimes.
Okay.
But you know, I don't know the exact situation, but for me, I like what you're saying. I was like, I've got to suck it up and keep doing this, you know.
Yeah.
And if you can get rid of the bad students, definitely do it, because their energy does affect everybody else. And you can have like one bad apple that kind of spoils that whole bunch, you know.
Yeah.
So there were people, even in Oklahoma, after teaching for years, that I had to kick out of classes and just basically, you know, say, you're not on my list anymore. You can't.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, I was in control of my own classes. At that
Yeah.
time.
So I'm not really in control, and some of these people are just coming in just for figure drawing. Some people are coming in for teaching and figure drawing. So I really have no
Oh, okay.
control over whoever comes in.
Yeah. So you can't take it personally. You
Yeah,
know,
okay.
you've got to stand in your power. You know that
Yeah.
you are a good teacher. You know that you're a good artist. You know that you have something to give to
Okay.
people who are open to it. And if they're not open, I just don't give those people my time.
Right.
I basically, what I used to tell people like that, I would say, if you need me, come get me, essentially.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to waste my time even coming around if you don't really want my help.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, it sounds like you know what you want to do here, and I'm here if you need me.
That's a great
Bye,
suggestion.
Felicia. You know, and you can say it in a nice way. You don't have to be a dick about it, you know.
No, right.
But you can say it in a nice way, but don't waste your time, you know. Don't waste your energy, and don't use the intention that you're going to walk away feeling good, you know, from that class, and that,
Yeah.
that you're going to walk away knowing that you gave people who were there for the right reason what they needed.
All right.
Just focus on them. Like, I know it's hard. I've had so many early on, especially, I
Yeah.
just get so emotional and personally offended and attached, you know, to some of this stuff, you know. And my boyfriend would always be like, why are you taking it personally? They're just egomaniacs, you know. And they really do. It's like they're little kids. They just really want somebody to, some of these people, they really just want somebody to go, man, you really know your stuff, you know. Wow, look at you. But
I used to host up at the Figure Center up here. I used to help like co-host, and there would be this woman who would come in, and she was like 60 something, and she would sit on the floor instead of standing or, you know, in a chair, and she would spread out all her pastels and chalk, and it would just be this huge mess, and her fingers were black, and she would just get in everyone's way.
yeah.
It was crazy. Really.
Oh, well, and if there is somebody who is really problematic, I mean, I would encourage you to talk to whoever's hosting it and let them know, like,
Yeah.
so this person is really disruptive. Is there any way that we can not have them?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, this class, it wasn't disruptive or anything. It was just I don't even know what it was. It was just left with a bad feeling, and nobody was receptive to my teaching that day. All the other ones they were okay with. Just for some reason, that day was a rough day.
Yeah.
You know?
You got knocked out, man, on the
I know. I'm going back. I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, definitely go back. Try to just focus on the good things. Like, you know, I mean, sometimes shit like that happens, and you have to kind of focus on the good things, and not the bad. And you know, also focus on what you're getting out of it. You know, if you're not getting enough out of it, if it's just trading your time for money and then you walk away feeling like crap every time, if that's like every time, you
Yeah.
know, then it's probably not worth it.
Okay.
It's probably in your best interest to figure out what else you could do or where else you could teach.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, that's a difficult situation to go into, knowing that it's half a monitored session, half.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'll do demonstrations, you know, and if people want to watch, they can. I think I'm also going to do like packets this time with like, you know, instructions. So I can just hand them out
Yeah.
and reference them if they want.
Yeah. But that situation in particular is difficult because it's not like you're walking in with a lot of authority
Right.
to begin with, you know,
Yeah.
like.
It's not my workshop. It's
Yeah. So that would not be a great fit for me. So if, you know, just me personally, but obviously, you know, if you're getting paid and you need the money and there are.
Yeah, and it's good experience for like learning how to teach. So.
Yeah, and get the people's emails who are open and receptive to you so that you can start teaching your own classes. I mean, I like teaching my own private classes, you know, even in person, because you do get paid more, paid better, and you usually have a better group of people that you know want to work with you. That's very important to me. But sometimes in the beginning, you have to teach through I had to teach through a lot of other organizations in order to even get that exposure and get those people on my list. So I would always take, you know, a page, you know, even whenever I do demos, you know, public demos, I always take an email sign up form and pass it around. Because you want to get, the people who are interested, their emails in case for future reference. And
yeah, absolutely. That's really good advice. I'm going to do that.
Emails.
It's the core of this conversation, I think. All comes back to the email.
Yeah, and you don't have to be embarrassed about it, you know, nothing like that. And if you're doing, like, I would say, see if I don't know if you can line up any public demos, but, you know, you can charge for demos. You can set up your own. I mean, I used to set up my own in Oklahoma City. I'm very much like, don't wait for anybody to do something for me. In the beginning, I got really lucky that some local organizations did want to do stuff for me, but then they also did not want to pay me. So that was kind of like,
it's good exposure.
Yeah, it's good exposure. No, well, they promised to pay and then they wouldn't pay, you know. But,
that's what it was,
Oh.
or they wouldn't pay on time, or, you know, that whole story.
Yeah.
But anyways, but in Oklahoma, there was very few organizations there that you could work with. And I mean, they paid squat jack diddly, you know. And I remember one that I tried to set up workshops with, and their clientele was just like, it was totally not my student base. You know, they focus more on contemporary art, abstract work, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I had to like fight to get paid more. I just said, I was like, you know, this is not good pay, you know, and I really need to get paid more. After I did my first class there, I was like, I really need to get paid more to do this again. And so they did get permission and raise the amount, but the quality of the student base, like what you're talking about, was not great. And so then what I started doing was setting up my own demos. So there was a local, I guess it's kind of like a Parks and Rec center. It was called Will Rogers Exhibition Center, and it was part of like this local park and garden center in Oklahoma City, and you could rent the space really affordably. And in fact, one of their rooms was free, and that was a smaller room, and that's where I started using that room to teach my classes. I could get about 6 to 8 people in there, you know.
That's nice.
So, and it didn't cost me anything. And the rec center was like, yeah, we'd love it. And I ran it privately and I got paid privately. It did not run through the rec center. I never even advertised it through the rec center, you know? So you also can look for opportunities like that in your local area. And then what I would do every now and then is I would set up a public demonstration at this rec center in the evening and charge admission. You could either do it for free or you could charge admission. I got to the point where I did it and charged admission, you know. And then, of course, you know, groups that ask you to come and demo. Do you have groups there that have asked you or that you could even reach out to and say, hey, I'm interested in doing a demo for you guys?
Yeah, I've had that. I passed it by because I didn't think it would be good, but
Yeah.
I guess it would be. That was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a great place to get students, you know, get them interested. If they can see what you can do and get to know you, it's great advertisement for that.
Yeah, that is.
And then take that sign-up list. You know, get their emails while you're there. You may even, if you have anything that you can give away or hand out, you know, of course, I have my DVDs now, so I use DVDs a lot as giveaways when I do things like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like stay to the end because we're gonna have a giveaway of these DVDs. You know, to get and also to get people excited, you know, as well, just to raise the energy. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. People are always gonna if you make it about them and not you, they're always gonna remember you. You know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're selfish.
Us humans.
And but I say that not necessarily in a bad way, but it is something that I've had to learn. I learned pretty early on, like, it's not about me. You know, even my art, you know, it's like, it is about me when I'm making it, when I'm doing it for me, but when I go to sell it, it's not about me. You know, it's about them and their experience and what they're getting out of me making this art. You know, how am I impacting their life?
Kelly, have you found doing giveaways or anything like that helps build your list, like to get people to sign up?
Of course.
Or are they just signing up to get the free thing and then they drop off?
I know that's kind of the fear, right? But
yeah.
you have to lose because you don't have anybody on your list.
So it's worth trying it. Okay.
Yeah, and I will say, Diane, I wondered that too when I started doing giveaways, and the majority of people do stay on the list.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, you will lose some people, but what it does is help boost engagement, and that helps spread out to more people. And if you can give an extra incentive to them, like, hey, your name gets entered in more than once if you comment, like, and share the post. Or I personally don't like the tag stuff, even though I just did this on Instagram. Tag somebody else in the post. Like, I know I never feel good about tagging, so I always tag somebody like my sister or something.
Yeah.
But if you can get them to like, comment, and share the post and tell them, like, hey, if you comment and share the post, your name gets entered in again, you know.
Well, that's
but you have to do both of those things, or you can get up to 3 entries by signing up for the list, comment, and then you get a second entry when you comment, then you get a 3rd entry when you share. If it's a bigger prize, you know, like an original piece or something, you probably want to give more time for that to build, because sometimes on Facebook it does take time for it to build, and I would post about it more than once, you know. So maybe a week to 2 weeks, you know, would be good whenever you're doing a giveaway. But it's a great way to get people onto your list, and obviously not all of them are going to be your ideal clients, but it is a great way to build engagement, spread the word, and get people on there. And then if you have like a great welcome series that is set up to introduce your art and introduce yourself to them, you know, heck, You might you might have a golden collector in there who just falls in love with you and your work, So, yeah. Yep. So I definitely do that. I'm actually doing one right now.
I'll have to look and see.
Yeah. This one was kind of spontaneous because I just got back from a retreat in Mexico, and so and really ideally this sale would have been better run at the end of the month, but I'm going to be out of the country, so I can't run it then. So I decided to run it mid-month.
So when you do something like that, are you posting beforehand, like saying, keep an eye out, I'm going to be doing something special, or ahead of time, like a week or so ahead? Or
if you can plan like that, this thing I'm doing this weekend was just very for the moment, so there was no preceding going on, unfortunately. But if you can seed it in advance, that's good too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right, guys. Anything else before we get off?
Yeah.
Not that I can think of at the moment. Are you gonna be available to ask questions from every now and then, or if something comes up and we have a question about something?
Sure. Or you can message me or email me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'll archive the group at some point. I don't know when. Probably whenever she opens enrollment again. I don't know when that's going to be. So, and I'll try to do this again. Probably after I get after I get back.
This has been really helpful. All these little sessions and the hour, the things you talk about, just the little things you've done through this whole course. Everything has been really helpful. It's been spot on. And I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And believe me, I know how difficult all of this can be, and how stressful it can be when you don't have that money coming in yet, And sometimes, like what Adam's saying, what he's going and doing this thing, but he doesn't feel great about it. And I know people would tell you not to do that, but I did all kinds of stuff like that. I did stuff for free, my boyfriend still jokes. He's like, I'll never forget you going and doing this demo in Norman, Oklahoma, outside. I set up a still life outside, just without lighting, and it was like 100 degrees, and it was like mid-July, and he was like, I'll never forget you hauling. But it was really interesting. I mean, obviously, if you can find smarter opportunities, that's better. But what's interesting is there was a woman there who she and her husband sat there and watched me the whole time, meaning this meeting. And then afterwards we spoke, and she was like, oh my, I am just so moved, by your painting. I'm so inspired. And she ended up being a student of mine for the next 3-4 years, and bought paintings. And so you just never know who you're going to reach and who might be there. And I guess she was an attorney, but she used to paint, and her mother was like a musician. And so she had like this artistic desire. And so she was like, are you teaching? And I said, yeah, actually I'm teaching a class here. It was like the Norman Firehouse Art Center. So she was one of the first students there. And then when that place petered out, and because they could only get sometimes they wouldn't even get enough students to run it, So, and they could only get a handful of students, but I had her email, so when that class wasn't running, she immediately got put on an email list. And back then I didn't have all the stuff I have now, but I emailed her whenever I found a place to set up my own private classes, and she was like, hell yeah, I'm in, You just never know. And it kind of sucks sometimes to do that starting out stuff, but it will build. But it's not going to be like instant, But with social media and stuff, you know, that can go faster in my experience, but you do have to be consistent and be patient. You can't get discouraged and go, this isn't working, and stop posting. Like, that's the worst thing that you can do, you know. So you have to stay consistent. You have to know that because it is true, if you're consistent, you will see results in the end. But you have to just keep at it, you know, even when you're not seeing great results yet. And get them on your email list. that might be the motto.
That is the motto, yes.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
You know, y'all can do it. And
Thank you.
yeah, if I've done it, you can do it. So
Yeah.
you got to get through It's kind of like learning how to paint, you know. You got to get through the suck to get to the good stuff, you know. So.
You got to crank out the turkeys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have an amazing weekend. Adam, I hope you can get some downtime and give yourself a break.
I'm gonna schedule stuff. I think that's a good idea. I appreciate you. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think my wife will appreciate it too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guarantee you, like, you'll actually end up coming up with better ideas because you gave yourself a break, you know.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to take the pressure off.
Yeah. It's in my bedroom, so it's a little challenging, but I can manage.
Yeah.
That's my studio. But
Oh, yeah. You throw like a big black sheet over it. No.
that's like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Not there today.
The artist is out.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, I wish you so much success, and I'll post the recording of this in the group. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
So much, Kelly.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
And we'll do this again. So, all right. Bye.
All right.
Bye.